Back in 1949, Marilyn Monroe was struggling to make it as an actress. She'd been dropped by 2 major movie studios by this point, and she says she was about to lose the roof over her head. At the time, she was living at the Hollywood Studio Club, which was like an old-school version of those TikTok mansions that you see today. It was a chaperone dorm where young actresses lived and got support as they tried to break into the business, but that wasn't going very well for Marilyn at the time. She says she was in danger of getting kicked out.
I had no family. I was behind in the rent. I had no place to go just to have a roof over my head.
So Marilyn said she needed money desperately. Now, on top of acting, Marilyn had been making money as a model, and in 1946, she scored her first national magazine cover where she looks as innocent as can be, playing barefoot with a baby lamb in a grassy field, and here she is as a sweet, blushing bride, or a girl just enjoying some nature. But this clean, wholesome image of Marilyn starts to fade the next year as she's showing a little more skin. And then she goes from a one-piece swimsuit to a bikini, and now we've lost our top entirely, and we're the hottest show in town. Just 3 years after her sweet baby lamb cover, we can see that by 1949, Marilyn has gone all in on the sexual aesthetic, posing for magazines featuring anatomical art, which asks the subtle question, is sex your escape? So clearly Marilyn had learned that the money comes in when she takes it off. And so in 1949, when she says she's broke and behind on rent, she hits up her photographer friend, Tom Kelly.
Tom Kelly had asked me to pose nude. I said, no, I don't do nudes, never.
When I first asked her to do it, she turned me down.
But Marilyn says she was in such a desperate crunch for money that she was considering stripping down.
I said, are you sure they won't recognize? He said, I promise.
Spoiler alert, Tom does not keep that promise. Anyway, Marilyn does the shoot, and she says,
it's very simple and drafty.
The photos were used in pinup calendars that would hang in men's locker rooms and barbershops and army barracks, and Marilyn says she was paid $50 for the shoot, and that let her buy some food and get caught up on bills and keep chasing her dream of Hollywood stardom, which started coming into focus later that year. Marilyn lands a couple small roles in films, but she shines so much on screen that people start paying attention to her. Soon she's invited to present an award at the Oscars. Then she gets a full-length feature about her in a national magazine, and it calls her an actress on the way up. Then she lands a starring role in a big movie, and she signs a 7-year contract with a huge movie studio, 20th Century Fox. Not to mention, she starts dating a crazy famous baseball player named Joe DiMaggio, who was a legendary player with a 56-game hitting streak, which is a record that still stands. So at this point, Marilyn is a big deal with a very recognizable face and a recognizable hourglass figure, and that's when her nude calendar shoot from 3 years earlier winds up on the desk of a news reporter. Marilyn says she's on the set of her new movie when she gets an unexpected call. It's the publicity department at Fox Studios where she's working, and she says they are freaking out, asking her,
did you pose for a calendar? And I said, yes. Anything wrong? Oh, don't say you did. Say you didn't. I said, but I did.
No other actress in the history of Hollywood had ever appeared nude in a mass publication, and so the studio execs at Fox might have been really worried that the public would turn on Marilyn and they'd lose their investment in their new star. This could explain why they reportedly told Marilyn to say, no, that's not me in the calendar, but when she sat down for her interview about the calendar with a journalist named Aileen Mosby, she didn't deny anything and she kept it real. Nude calendar beauty at last identified. Marilyn Monroe admits she posed for it. Oh, the calendar's hanging in garages all over town, said Marilyn. Why deny it? Besides, I'm not ashamed. I've done nothing wrong. Many people loved how straight up and unapologetic Marilyn was about her sexuality, especially when she threw in these funny responses to reporters' questions. Asked just the other day if she had anything on for the calendar photograph, Marilyn quipped, sure, I had the radio on. Aside from the jokes, though, That reporter, Aileen, also shares the sympathetic backstory about why Marilyn had to pose for that calendar, explaining that Marilyn was tossed between orphanages and foster parents as a child, and that she was just this poor, hungry actress trying to make ends meet in cutthroat Los Angeles as she built her acting career. By the time people finished this article, most readers were won over by Marilyn's vulnerability and by the fact that she had faced financial struggles that they could relate to. And so she became the celebrity that understood her fans' real-world problems, while at the same time sealing her spot as the world's leading sex symbol. What should have been Hollywood's most salacious scandal to date had suddenly pivoted into a massive PR success that thrust Marilyn to unprecedented fame. 1 month after the calendar article came out, Marilyn appears on the cover of the most popular magazine at the time, Life, which calls her the talk of Hollywood. Then Fox Studios hands Marilyn the coveted leading role in its next big feature, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. But before the world would see that legendary performance, Fox would release another film starring Marilyn just 3 months after her calendar scandal broke. Thanks to all the buzz around that, the movie is a major success, blowing up the box office with ticket sales. By the end of 1952, everybody knows Marilyn Monroe, and she gets flooded with awards celebrating how popular she's become.
And as Best Young Box Office Personality, Miss Marilyn Monroe.
I'd like to present to you the Look Achievement Award as the most outstanding feminine newcomer of 1952.
Thank you, Lawrence.
With honor and pride and pleasure, I present this citation to you.
Thank you.
It's a great thrill, and I'm very appreciative to all who have made this possible.
Marilyn Monroe, the brightest star in the 1952 heavens. Good heavens!
All of these trophies and titles that Marilyn was winning only led to more press about what a rising star she was, along with articles about how to become a celebrity. With all of this media coverage, she caught the eye of a man named Hugh Hefner. Yes, that Hugh Hefner. Marilyn had become so popular that company that had printed that calendar with the nude pic in it, they decided they ought to print a few more copies of that, and they also happened to be located in Chicago, which was where Hef was living at the time. Hef had been thinking of starting a men's magazine, and he thought that Marilyn's famous figure would be the perfect way to launch his new venture. Hef calls up the calendar printer and he says, "Hey, I'd like to buy the rights to those nude photos of Marilyn."
And you bought that picture for $500, and it became a business that's worth, what are you worth now?
Stopped counting a while back.
Hugh Hefner then features Marilyn on the cover of the very first edition of Playboy. First time in any magazine, full color, the famous Monroe nude. Once inside the magazine, Playboy outlines Marilyn's measurements, like we're getting specs for some piece of cattle we're about to buy, which makes sense since women have literally been treated like that for centuries. Playboy then points out that it's not that impressed with Marilyn's body, saying her curves really aren't that spectacular. We've known girls in our roguish wanderings who beat those dimensions all to hell. The same can be said for her face. Okay, Hef, I don't think you need to be talking about anybody's face now. But Hef was a savvy businessman because his decision to put Marilyn on that first cover skyrocketed the sales of his new magazine from the jump, and Hugh Hefner credits Marilyn Monroe with kickstarting his entire Playboy empire.
Without Marilyn, I wouldn't be here.
Hef felt so bonded to Marilyn that he even bought the cemetery crypt next to hers for $75,000.
The body of Hugh Hefner leaves the fabled Playboy mansion for the last time after he passed away peacefully at age 91.
And when that happened in 2017, Hef was laid to rest next to his favorite leading lady. You've been watching an excerpt from my video on Marilyn Monroe and her toxic formula for fame and why Kim K is a cheap knockoff. If you want to see the full documentary over on my main channel, then you can click the link in the description or in the end screen coming up. All right, thanks for watching. Bye, y'all.